When 50 Cent talks, the whole industry listens, and this time, what he said sent shockwaves through hip-hop. The feud between Remy Ma and Claressa had already been heating up. But no one expected 50 to step in and blow the lid off everything. With his trademark mix of humor, raw honesty, and brutal precision, he didn't just comment, he exposed. He peeled back the curtain on what really sparked the tension, revealing details that fans never saw coming. Suddenly, what everyone thought was just another rap beef turned into a deeper story of loyalty, betrayal, and power plays behind the scenes for years. Remy and Claressa's rivalry had been a topic whispered about in studios and podcasts, but never fully addressed. Until now. 50 Cent's words connected dots no one even knew existed, forcing everyone from fans to fellow artists to question what they believed. Was this feud really about respect, or was it about something much bigger? Fame, control, and the unspoken rules of an industry where alliances change faster than a beat drop. As clips of 50's statements spread online, the internet exploded. People chose sides, old interviews resurfaced, and the truth started looking more complicated than anyone had imagined. Because if there's one thing 50 Cent is known for, it's never speaking without purpose. And this time, his truth bombs didn't just start a conversation, they reignited a war. It started like most hip-hop feuds do, with whispers, subliminals, and a spark that nobody thought would turn into a fire. For years, Remy Ma and Claressa had shared a complicated history, two powerful women with strong personalities, sharp tongues, and reputations built on authenticity. They'd crossed paths countless times, sometimes as allies, sometimes as rivals. But beneath the surface of friendly smiles and backstage handshakes, tension had been building. And when 50 Cent finally spoke about it, he didn't just pour gasoline on the fire, he threw a hole. Matchbook. The story really began months before 50 got involved. Rumors had been circulating about a behind-the-scenes fallout between Remy and Claressa. Some said it was over money, others said it was about respect. Whatever it was, people noticed something was off. The two women who once publicly praised each other were now silent. No collaborations, no joint appearances, no friendly shout-outs. In hip-hop, silence is rarely peace signs a warning. Then came the interviews. Claressa, during a casual sit-down, made a comment about some people pretending to be real when the cameras are on but switching up behind closed doors. She didn't say names, but everyone knew who she meant. The internet caught on instantly, and within hours, blogs were running headlines about shade being thrown. Remy didn't respond right away, but when she did, it was classic Remy-com, confident and surgical. "I don't do pretend," she said in one post, "and I don't do fake energy. If you got something to say it directly." That was all it took. The hip-hop world loves conflict. And this one had everything: two icons, both with huge followings and a long history that gave every word weight. Fans began to divide themselves, dissecting lyrics, old interviews, even body language from past events. What had once been sisterhood now looked like war waiting to happen. And then 50 Cent stepped in. He'd been quiet, out the feud for a while, even though he'd worked with both of them before. But when 50 finally decided to speak, he did what he always does. He went straight for the truth, no filter. During an unplanned Instagram live session, he dropped what fans later called the truth bombs heard around the world. His tone wasn't angry. It was matter-of-fact. Almost like he was tired of watching the internet twist the story. "Everybody want to act like they don't know what's really going on," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Remy and Claressa. That's not about no music. That's about respect. When money and loyalty get mixed up, people show their real faces. I've seen both sides, and trust me, it's deeper than y'all think." That one statement sent shockwaves through the culture. 50 had a reputation for knowing what really goes on behind closed doors. And if he was saying it ran deeper, people listened. Within hours, clips of the live stream were everywhere. His followers reposted it, blogs picked it up, and suddenly everyone wanted to know, what did he mean by deeper? Days later, 50 clarified his comments in another interview. He didn't back down. "Remy's solid," he said. "Always been. But the game got too many people trying to play both sides. Claressa's talented, no doubt, but this ain't about bars, it's about business. It's about trust." That word, trust, became the center of every discussion. People began connecting dots that had been ignored for years. There were old deals, shared producers, and even management teams that had allegedly played both women against each other. 50 hinted that the fallout wasn't spontaneous, it was planned. "Some folks behind the scenes knew what they were doing," he said. They wanted tension. It sells. The idea that the feud had been manipulated by outsiders lit the internet on fire. Could it really be that what fans thought was genuine beef was actually industry engineering? If so, who stood to gain? Remy stayed silent after 50's first comments, which was rare for her. Silence from her meant calculation. Claressa, however, took the bait. She posted a cryptic message that read, "When people start defending others like they know everything, that's when you know the story ain't been told yet." The post was slick, but everyone knew she was responding to 50. The next day, 50 responded in true 50 Cent fashion with sarcasm and a smirk. He reposted her message with his own caption, "Don't start none, won't be none." The internet went crazy. Fans flooded comment sections, creating theories, side-by-side comparisons, and timelines trying to map out exactly what had happened between Remy and Claressa. But behind all the entertainment, something real was unfolding. For 50, it wasn't just gossip. He'd seen how these kinds of feuds destroy relationships, reputations, and opportunities. "This game don't love nobody," he said in one of his posts. "It'll make you fight your friends for clicks. It'll make you lose yourself for streams." People started realizing that maybe 50 wasn't instigating. Maybe he was warning. He'd built his career on calling out industry hypocrisy, and this was no different. He knew what it felt like to have people twist narratives for attention. And when he spoke on the Remy-Claressa situation, it wasn't just about the two women, it was about how easily loyalty crumbles under pressure. Behind the scenes, sources close to both artists confirmed that 50's words hit hard. Remy reportedly reached out privately to clear the air with him, while Claressa's camp doubled down, claiming 50 was using their names for clout. But that accusation didn't hold much weight. 50 didn't need clout. His influence was already cemented. If anything, his words brought attention to something that was already unraveling. Industry insiders began leaking more details. Apparently, a major collaboration had been planned between Remy and Claressa months before the fallout. But things went sour during negotiations. Allegedly, one of them felt she was being shortchanged in the business deal. That dispute, combined with personal misunderstandings, led to the explosion the public was now watching unfold as 50 continued speaking. He didn't just reveal facts, he told the truth about what fame does to people. "It's not even about who's wrong or right," he said in another interview. "It's about who can handle the pressure. When money comes in, loyalty goes out the window for most. Only a few stay real." That line resonated across the industry. Other artists began chiming in, sharing their own experiences of betrayal and fake friendships in the business. What started as a feud between two women had become a larger conversation about authenticity in hip-hop. A conversation that 50 Cent had unintentionally or maybe intentionally forced into the open. Through it all, Remy stayed focused. Her silence began to feel powerful, almost strategic. She didn't need to respond. Her reputation spoke for itself. Claressa, on the other hand, seemed more reactive, dropping hints and subliminals that only fueled speculation. Every move she made, every lyric she posted online, was examined for hidden meaning. But the more 50 spoke, the clearer his intention became. He wasn't trying to start a war, he was trying to expose one that had already been waged in secret. He called out the industry's tendency to pit strong women against each other for entertainment, reminding everyone that while the world watched two stars clash, the real winners were the people behind the scenes profiting from the chaos by the end of the month. His comments had changed everything. What had begun as another celebrity feud was now a full-blown cultural momentan, unfiltered look at how power, ego, and manipulation shape the stories we consume. And whether fans agreed with 50 or not, one thing was certain. He had forced everyone to see beyond the surface. What no one knew, though, was that the biggest revelation was still to come. Because while 50 had been dropping truth bombs for the world to hear, there were things he hadn't said yet. Things that would explain why he decided to speak up in the first place. And when those truths finally surfaced, the industry would never look at this feud the same way again. After 50 Cent's initial comments tore through the internet. Everyone was waiting for what would come next. But instead of backing off, he doubled down, because if there's one thing about 50, it's that he never throws a stone without being ready to deal with the ripples. His words had already rattled the culture, but now he was ready to explain why he decided to speak up at all. The truth was, 50 had been watching the feud between Remy Ma and Claressa long before it became public. He'd seen the tension brewing, heard the whispers in studio hallways, and watched as industry insiders stirred the pot. To him, the situation wasn't just petty drama. It was another example of how real talent gets manipulated for business gain. He'd seen it happen too many times before. Two powerful artists, both strong-minded and independent, pitted against each other while the executives behind the scenes counted profits and clicks. In his next interview, 50 didn't hold back. "Y'all keep thinking this is about ego," he said, his voice calm but deliberate. "This is about control. You take two women who know their worth, who speak their truth. And the system don't like that. They want division because it keeps everyone distracted. That's the game." The quote went viral. Fans praised 50 for speaking out on something most artists were too afraid to admit. The idea that conflict in the industry is sometimes orchestrated, not organic. But while some saw his comments as truth, others saw them as provocation. Claressa's team quickly released a statement saying that no one had manipulated her. Or Remy, that their disagreement was personal and between them. But that statement only made things worse, because once 50 Cent had planted the seed of doubt, the audience couldn't stop digging. People began revisiting everything: old award shows, interviews, even social media posts from years ago. Fans started building timelines, noticing subtle shifts in tone and attitude between Remy and Claressa that seemed to support 50's version of events. What once looked like random shade now looked strategic. Who had started it and who had benefited from it? Then, in one of his live streams, 50 dropped the first major revelation. "You know why I spoke on it?" he said, leaning forward. "Because I was there when it started. Not in the room, but close enough to hear what really went down. And let me tell you, some people smiled in both their faces while talking behind their backs." That line sent the internet into overdrive. Who was he talking about? Was it a label executive? A manager? A mutual friend? 50 didn't name names, but he didn't have to. His words carried enough weight to make everyone nervous. Behind the scenes, both Remy and Claressa were said to be furious, not at each other this time, but at the realization that 50 might be right. The thought that their feud had been exploited for clout and publicity didn't sit well with either of them. Sources close to Remy said she felt played, while people in Claressa's camp claimed she was done being a pawn. Meanwhile, the public couldn't get enough. Every blog, podcast, and hip-hop channel was dissecting 50's statements. Some saw him as the voice of reason, calling out industry manipulation. Others accused him of stirring trouble just to keep himself relevant. But whether people loved him or hated him, they couldn't ignore him. 50 Cent had once again taken control of the narrative, something he'd mastered since the early days of his career. Then came the second revelation, and this one was bigger. During a sit-down interview on a popular podcast, 50 revealed that before the feud, there had been talks of a joint business venture between Remy and Claressa. Project that could have redefined how women in hip-hop collaborated. According to 50, the deal was in motion until someone upstairs got nervous about their combined influence. Two strong women linking up. That's power, he said, and power scares people. He claimed that soon after those talks, communication between Remy and Claressa started breaking down. You ever notice how when two people start building something powerful, suddenly rumors pop up out of nowhere? Wushe asked. That's not coincidence, that's control. The podcast episode exploded online. Viewers flooded the comments, demanding answers. Who stopped the deal? Was it really sabotaged intentionally? And if 50 knew all this, why was he speaking now? In another clip released later that week, 50 answered that question too. I don't do fake, he said simply. I'm not going to sit back and watch people tear each other apart over lies. I got love for both of them, and if the truth hurts, so be it. At least it's real. The industry hadn't seen 50 this outspoken in years. And it reminded everyone why he was one of the most feared voices in entertainment. When he talks, people know there's more truth than exaggeration behind his words. Remy Ma, though silent, publicly, started to make moves that confirmed something had shifted. She began unfollowing several industry figures. Online people, fans later linked to the alleged behind-the-scenes manipulation. Claressa, meanwhile, posted a cryptic video of herself in the studio saying, "Sometimes the truth don't need defending. It just needs time." It wasn't a direct response to 50, but the timing was too perfect to ignore. For the first time in months, it seemed like both women were stepping back not from each other, but from the people and forces that had turned them into enemies. But as usual, 50 wasn't done. During another interview, he revealed yet another layer to the story. "Y'all keep asking why I care," he said, smirking. "Because I've seen this same game before. They tried to play me with it too. Divide and distract. It's old tactics, but it still works if you don't see it coming." He talked about how labels and executives use conflict as marketing, turning artists into walking storylines instead of creators. "Beef keeps people talking," he said. "That's why they love it. But it destroys more than it builds. Real ones know that." By this point, the conversation had shifted completely. What started as gossip about Remy and Claressa had become an open dialogue about how the music industry weaponizes competition. Artists from all genres began speaking up, agreeing with 50 and sharing their own stories of manipulation. It was like a Wave 1 truth bomb had triggered a reckoning. Still, not everyone appreciated 50's approach. Critics accused him of using Remy and Claressa's situation to boost his own brand. They claimed his truth-telling was just another form of entertainment, a way to stir controversy and stay in the spotlight. But his supporters pushed back hard, pointing out that he wasn't gaining anything he was risking. Relationships to say what others were too afraid to admit. And through it all, one question remained. What was 50's connection to the feud? Why did he care so much? In the final part of his interview series, 50 revealed something personal. "You know why I felt this one?" he said quietly. "Because I've been both of them. I've been betrayed by people I trusted. I've been lied on for profit. I know what that kind of pain does to a person. It eats at your peace, your focus, your art." That vulnerability changed everything. For once, 50 wasn't just the loud, unfiltered voice calling out nonsense. He was the man behind the mask. Someone who understood the human cost of an industry that thrives on conflict. By the end of the week, even Remy and Claressa's camps had softened their tone. The hostility had quieted. No diss tracks, no interviews, just silence. And in hip-hop, silence often means reflection. The truth was out now, whether people wanted to believe it or not. 50 had peeled back the layers and exposed what really happens when power, ego, and manipulation collide. But the story wasn't finished. There were still loose ends, unspoken truths, and private conversations happening behind closed doors. And when the final truth came out, it would reveal why 50's words had carried so much personal weight and what the feud had really cost. By the time 50 Cent dropped his final wave of truth bombs, the entire industry was paying attention. Artists, executives, producers, everyone was talking about what he'd said. The feud between Remy Ma and Claressa had started as just another headline. But now it had become something much bigger. A mirror held up to the music business itself. And while the public saw drama, those who looked closer could see something deeper, hard lesson about loyalty, power, and the cost of speaking out in a world built on silence in the weeks that followed his last interview. The ripple effects of 50's words began to show. Remy Ma, who had kept quiet through most of the ordeal, started to move differently. She stopped addressing rumors, stopped engaging with the noise, and instead focused on her work. Every performance, every lyric carried a weight that wasn't there before. Fans noticed it. Her energy was sharper, more grounded, like she had finally decided to stop defending herself and start letting her legacy do the talking. Claressa, too, began shifting her approach. The fiery posts and cryptic messages disappeared. In their place came silence, then focus. She started showing more behind-the-scenes moments, studio sessions, family time, creative planning. It was as if 50's exposure had forced both women to take a step back and reevaluate what was really worth fighting for. But not everyone wanted peace. Behind the scenes, some people were furious with 50 Cent for opening Pandora's box. A few industry figures accused him of breaking the code, the unspoken rule that says you never reveal how the machine really works. They claimed he had made enemies out of powerful people by pulling back the curtain. But 50 didn't care. He'd been in this game too long to fear the backlash. "They can't cancel me," he said on another live session. "I already own my own stage." It wasn't arrogance, it was truth. 50 had built his career on independence. He didn't rely on anyone's approval, and that's what made his words so dangerous. He wasn't tied to the politics that kept other artists silent. That freedom allowed him to say what no one else dared to say. That most feuds in hip-hop aren't about emotion, they're about manipulation. And the people at the top profit from keeping artists divided. As fans continued to dissect his statements, an unexpected development took everyone by surprise. Remy and Claressa were spotted at the same events, seated just a few tables apart at an award show. The tension was still there. But this time, there was no hostility, no side eye, no drama. Cameras caught a brief exchange between them, a nod, a small smile, and then they both looked away. It wasn't reconciliation, but it was acknowledgement. The kind of moment that said, "We know the truth now. And we're done playing the game." In the days that followed, the internet buzzed with speculation. Were they finally squashing the beef? Was 50 the reason? Nobody knew for sure, but one thing was obvious: the energy had changed. Whatever resentment once fueled the feud seemed to have been replaced by quiet understanding. Both women had learned that being right doesn't always mean winning. Sometimes. The real victory is walking away with your peace intact. Then came the final twist, something only 50 could deliver. During an interview promoting one of his upcoming projects, the host asked if he regretted getting involved in the feud. 50 paused for a moment before answering. "Nah," he said, "because if I didn't speak, they would have kept letting other people control their story. Sometimes you gotta be the bad guy to make people see who the real villains are." It was vintage 50 sharp, reflective, and unapologetic. But then he added something that silenced the room. "Truth is," he said, "I knew what it felt like to be both of them. I've been Remy, the one who stays real no matter the cost. And I've been Claressa, the one who gets caught up trying to prove herself in a fake world. That's why I said what I said. I wasn't picking sides. I was trying to end it before it broke them." That statement changed the tone of everything. What had once looked like gossip now felt like a cautionary tale, a story about what happens when pride and perception collide. 50's words weren't just commentary. They were confession. He'd been